This module will delve into the case of a complex environmental dispute with scientific uncertainties in Korea. We will discuss how stakeholders could balance environmental concerns and development interests through a multi-stakeholder process, so-called Sihwa Sustainable Development Committee.
Lake Sihwa is an artificial lake surrounded by local cities, Siheung and Hwasong, in Gyeonggi Province on the west coast of Korea. The government built a 12.7-kilometer-length tidal embankment between 1986 and 1994 as a means of sealing off the mouths of the bay in order to reclaim lands for agricultural use, industrial complexes, and create a freshwater lake to irrigate the Sihwa region. After the lake was finally sealed off in 1994, its water quality rapidly degraded due to an increasing pollution load from residential areas and industrial complexes, and the lack of wastewater treatment facilities. A large-scale seawall was constructed to remove the mudflat, which reduced the natural pollution absorption capabilities of the lake while blocking seawater inflow. In 1997, Lake Sihwa became a symbol of environmental disaster in Korea. Water pollution of the lake raised social and environmental concerns, which led to conflict between the government and angry residents. Apart from water pollution, air pollution from factory stacks and noisome odor were serious problems to the residents near the lake. In order to alleviate water pollution in the lake in 1996, the Ministry of Environment discharged polluted water from Lake Sihwa into the sea. As a result, tens of thousands of fishes and shellfish died around the bay. Consequently, local fishermen and environmental groups fiercely complained about the government's decision. A number of government agencies came up with various policy packages to address environmental problems and development interests. But the citizens in the region likewise took action in 1999. 12 civil organizations in the region established a civic coalition and began organizing systematic campaigns to challenge government decisions. The Ministry of Maritime Affairs and Fisheries organized local forums where 24 local stakeholders participated in establishing a comprehensive management plan for the region. However, the local forums excluded the coalition members. The Ministry of Construction and Transportation also made an effort to create a comprehensive management plan for Lake Sihwa, aimed at reclaiming more land by establishing the Sihwa Region Policy Council, whose members included central government agencies, local governments, and public corporations. The Council commissioned 6 national think tank institutes to formulate a comprehensive management plan for the Lake Sihwa region. The proposal outlined the Sihwa Multi-Techno Valley project, whose goal was to turn reclaimed areas into an industrial complex for cutting-edge technology industries and venture companies, as well as to establish tourism and leisure sites. The Lake Sihwa Coalition, however, criticized the proposal as another deadly governmental blunder that would end up polluting Lake Sihwa again. The coalition blocked every step of the process. The public hearing on the proposal by the Ministry of Construction and Transportation was not conducted properly due to the protest of coalition members. Civic coalition groups convened a civil forum on Lake Sihwa in which 500 people participated to celebrate World Day for Water. They also organized a workshop to formulate their own proposal that included construction of an eco-park around Lake Sihwa. They explored the area and incidentally found dinosaur egg fossils in a reclaimed area. In 2000, they intentionally derailed official public hearings on a farmland development plan proposed by the Ministry of Environment and organized a mass rally in front of the central government complex in Seoul. The strong resistance from Sihwa Coalition was accompanied by criticism of the government by politicians and the media for its failure in managing water quality in Lake Sihwa. Even the Board of Audit and Inspection, a powerful independent body of the government, criticized the central government agencies that were responsible for development projects and environmental management. Those critiques from the groups directly involved in challenging the government weakened its power further. Another meaningful change in the political realm that affected the government agencies that contributed to the environmental disaster was President Roh Moo-hyun's introduction of a so-called participatory government that emphasized the value of participatory decision-making. When the Ministry of Construction and Transportation invited the Shihwa Coalition to hash out the problem in a new collaborative process, the coalition did not accept the offer right away. Its members did not trust the government. They believed that water quality improvement should be the priority, but the government argued that water quality improvement and regional development should go hand in hand. Even though the government promised that some portion of the revenues from regional development would be earmarked for environmental management projects in Lake Shihwa area, the members of the Shihwa Coalition suspected that the government would manipulate them to agree to the project first and then change its stance and adopt a passive role in environmental management. One of the reasons why the Shihwa Coalition did not accept the offer from the ministry right away was that an immediate acceptance might weaken its solidarity as a coalition and signal its weakness to the government. Although the coalition realized that the water quality of the lake had not been improved at all despite their efforts to tackle the problem through anti-government campaigns, the coalition did not see any other options but to maintain their adversarial stance because they distrusted the government. Even when the Shihwa Coalition did finally accept the invitation from the ministry, it proposed a few counter terms as conditions to begin any dialogue. First, a new collaborative working group should not limit participants and should be open to anyone who wants to participate. Although the government had tried to incorporate civilian members into some phases of decision-making process, the members of the Shihwa Coalition had been excluded. Second, any decision should be arrived at by consensus rather than a majority rule. Third, the dialogue should be transparent and open to the public through a web page that would update information on and would post relevant data, even recorded transcripts from the meetings. Fourth, the Shihwa Coalition should be allowed to recommend any experts to the committee. Fifth, any discussion should start from scratch. And sixth, all information about the government project should be shared with participants of the committee in a timely manner. Although the coalition did not expect that the Ministry of Construction and Transportation would accept them, to the surprise of the coalition, however, the government official from the ministry accepted all the terms. Although coalition members were suspicious because this was such an unusual move on the part of the government, they decided to join in a new multi-stakeholder process called the Shihwa Sustainable Development Committee on January 16, 2004.
이 협의체 구성의 결정적 배경은 일단 정부로서는 새로운 멀티 테크노밸리라고 하는 MTB 개발 계획을 가지고 있었고, 그다음에 또 하나는 송산 그리시트라고 하는 신도시 개발 계획을 화성에 1740만 평 규모로 진행할 계획을 가지고 있었습니다. 거기에 비해서 시민사회와 주민들은 기존의 일방적인 개발로 인해서 악취 및 대기오염과 시와호의 수질오염이 전혀 개선되지 않았는데 또 다른 개발 계획을 세우는 것에 대해서 불신하게 되었고, 정부에 대한 책임과 정부 관련된 결정권자들에 대한 처벌을 요구하게 되는 갈등으로 비화되었던 것이 94년부터 2004년까지의 일입니다. 그런데 정부도 이제 이전 방식으로 가지고서는 주민들을 설득하기 어려웠고, 또 그 문제에 대해서 가장 강력하게 반대하고 저항했던 시민사회도 정부의 도움과 협조 없이 주민들이 원하는 방향으로 나가기가 어려웠습니다. 특히 시민사회에서는 많은 자괴감이 있었는데요. 왜냐하면 10년 동안 저항하고, 그 다음에 주민들과 함께 집단행동도 하고, 청원도 하고, 그 다음에 정부를 대상으로 소송을 걸었지만 아무런 효과를 발휘하지 못했습니다. 그런데 주민들이 떠나가기 시작했습니다. 주민들은 정부의 말을 레도 믿고 싶었고 시민사회의 신뢰와 믿음을 통해서 진행하고 싶었지만 주민들의 삶의 질, 즉 행복 추구권을 포함한 환경권에는 전혀 개선이 없었기 때문에 주민들은 실망하고 떠나갔었습니다. 여기에 바로 시화지구 지속가능발전협의회의 탄생의 배경이 있습니다.
At the first meeting of the Xihua Sustainable Development Committee, the participants introduced ground rules specifying and elaborating on the terms that the Xihua Coalition had proposed. The chairman of the committee was the senior government official from the Ministry of Construction and Transportation for the first couple of meetings. But later, the senior official suggested that the committee should have two joint chairpersons, one from the government and one from civil society. The committee established three subgroups, one for air quality, one for water and the ecosystem, and one for regional development planning. The chairperson for each of the subgroups was selected by the Xihua Coalition, while government officials served as facilitators. With this arrangement, the committee managed to achieve a balance of power between the government and civil society. The upfront negotiation regarding the structure of the collaboration was critical to its success. In the eyes of the coalition, the terms it had proposed had power-balancing effect. The expectation that the process would be inclusive and transparent, and that consensus rather than majority rule would decide the outcome of any decision, made the coalition feel less vulnerable and distrustful, and helped reduce the risk inherent in collaboration that it exposed itself to in working with the government.
녹취록과 회의록을 정보하고 논의하면서 공개하는 것은 쉽지 않은 일이거든요. 많이 설득하고 또 설득했습니다. 왜냐하면 우리끼리만 논의되었고 우리끼리만 합의되었다고 해서 주민들이 납득하지 않을 것이다. 주민의 신뢰는 정보 공개로부터 시작되어진다. 그래서 저희는 녹취록과 회의록 공개했고요.
Small wins approach to trust building at the early stage of the collaborative process, the members of the Xihua Coalition could not fully trust the government. According to an interview with the leader of the Xihua Coalition, however, trust between the government and the Xihua Coalition members started being built up little by little when the members of the coalition saw that the government was indeed going to honor the terms the coalition had set. For example, when the coalition requested copies of technical and administrative documents about development projects from the Ministry of Construction and Transportation, government officials sent all the relevant documents to it in a timely manner. Also, the web page of the Xihua Sustainable Development Committee, through which the public was able to access much information on its meetings, increased the level of transparency, which also contributed to building trust among its members. One of the major transformations of the Xihua Coalition as adversarial counter, veiling power, was its decision to focus on local problem-solving rather than coalition building with other major environmental organizations, whose headquarters were located in the capital. Although it had the opportunity to form a coalition with these major organizations, it decided instead to work only with its local members and focus on its own local problems. The leader of the coalition was concerned that the involvement of the major environmental groups from Seoul might lead the process into deep value-rooted conflict rather than problem-solving deliberation. The coalition also believed that it could only trust government participants to the extent that it did not feel vulnerable, and that working with large groups from the capital would make it feel weaker. In addition, the coalition believed that its members were better positioned to discuss local issues, as they possessed more information about what was happening on the ground than the national groups in Seoul did. Usually, the parties in adversarial relations do not acknowledge each other's concerns, but instead tend to criticize or attack them. Such interaction begets more defensive and aggressive strategies. Acknowledging that conventional argumentative processes had prevented each group from learning from the others, the Xihua Sustainable Development Committee sought to overcome this obstacle by holding special sessions for mutual learning, so-called Learning Without Criticism sessions. The ground rules for these Learning Without Criticism sessions were that no participant should criticize another participant. Instead, the members were meant to just listen to the experts who presented conflicting views to the whole session and only speak to ask these experts clarifying questions. For example, during the 2-day session on the issue of environmentally friendly golf courses, the participants listened to experts without raising any challenges, and the result was that they learned about the potential risks of such golf courses and their impact on the region's ecosystem, and about ways of designing golf courses using available technologies that could minimize the environmental damage from building them. Over the first 5 years of the collaboration, the Xihua Sustainable Development Committee held 35 learning sessions. The Ministry of Construction and Transportation proposed to develop 10.46 square kilometers of reclaimed land for the Xihua Multi-Techno Valley project. However, the Xihua Coalition strongly argued that the ministry should reduce the size of the development area to only 3 square kilometers. The participants could not resolve this disagreement due to conflicting data and the opinions of a number of adversarial experts. Thus, they agreed to commission a joint research project that experts from each side would participate equally in to figure out the appropriate size of the development. After a long-term study, the joint research team recommended that the government should establish the Xihua Multi-Techno Valley project on a 9.26 square kilometer parcel. The size that the team proposed was slightly smaller than the originally planned on by the government, but it was much larger than that suggested by the Xihua Coalition. Significantly, the coalition members accepted the recommendation from the joint research team since their own experts had also participated in the joint research process, from designing research questions to collecting data. Miraculously, Lake Xihua and adjacent regions turned themselves from a case of environmental disaster into a model for sustainable development in a relatively short period of time. The annual mean chemical oxygen demand concentration in the streams flowing through the industrial complex near Lake Xihua decreased from 1,970 parts per million in 2004 to 17 parts per million in 2006. Also, the chemical oxygen demand of Lake Xihua improved significantly to 2 parts per million in the same year. As the water quality improved, the ecosystem in the region was also revived with more migratory birds and fishes. The number of complaints of bad odors decreased from 630 cases in 2004 to 190 in 2008. Improvements in environmental quality were made through the implementation of agreements on water and air quality improvement roadmaps and regional development plans that the Xihua Sustainable Development Committee hammered out in negotiations and deliberations over a 4-year period, from 2004 to 2008. A total of 38 members participated in the committee, including 4 local politicians as board members, 2 joint chairs, 12 government officials from central and local governments, 4 officials from public corporations, and 16 members of the Xihua Coalition. The committee generated lots of creative ideas for developing the area in more sustainable ways. For example, they agreed to establish and conserve a habitat for migratory birds in reclaimed lands and an eco-network in the newly developed city for wild animals to move in safely. They formulated stringent guidelines for constructing environmentally friendly golf courses around the new city. They designated a site of dinosaur egg fossils for ecotourism and sought to conserve narrow-mouthed frogs by moving their habitat into another appropriate region. They also agreed to earmark all the revenue from regional development projects for environmental management plans to improve air and water quality in that region. Acknowledging the efforts of the committee and its tangible outcomes, in 2008, the government institutionalized it, turning what started as an ad hoc voluntary process into a permanent, legitimate, and official decision-making body.
Now, let's review what we have learned in the case of Xihua Sustainable Development Committee. This case is a successful experiment of collaborative governance in balancing development and environment in Korea, in which long-term adversarial relationship among stakeholders was transformed to a collaborative one. Stakeholders overcame distrust among themselves by a comprehensive upfront pre-negotiation on the structure of collaboration. And that discussion was critical in setting the stage to build trust little by little. Also, with the trust they built together, civic groups perceived that they were empowered so that they could focus on local problem solving and mutual learning rather than power struggle and positional bargaining.